name is Emily Wallace, and I am an author of a book called Scarred for Life. And when I say Scarred for Life, I mean scarred for life. And I'm here today to talk about that book. And I'm also here today to talk about a child being abused. One child being abused is too much. It's over 2 million. 2 million reports are being made to the Child Protective Service nationwide every year. A child is being abused every minute, every hour, every second, just as well as a child is being born into this world. Silence is not the answer when it comes to abuse. I want you guys to know to never, ever, ever be afraid to speak out. I want you guys to know to never, never when somebody abuses you, never think it's your fault. Never think that it's something that you did to deserve this. Never think that you caused, because you did. Never be afraid to go to authorities. And when I say authorities, you can go to the police, you can go to a teacher, you can go to Child Protective Service, you can even go to a friend to get help. Because abuse is something serious. Abuse is something that you cannot deal with alone. You cannot keep it under the closet. You cannot keep it under the rug. You have to let it out. You have to speak out and you have to tell. Because you may hold it in too long and it may be too late. Because that person that abused you may decide to do something stupid. They already did something stupid, but they may want to do something stupider. So you have to go to authorities and you have to speak out. If you know somebody that's being bullied by anybody, I don't care who it is, go to authorities. The reason why I say go to authorities, because if you bullying somebody, that is abuse also. So you need to go to authorities to try to get that other person help. Speak out. Never forget to speak out. Because abuse is nothing to play with. Abuse hurts. It hurts on the outside and it hurts in the inside. And you cannot deal with abuse alone. And I repeat myself over and over and over and over because I want you guys to put it up here. I want you guys to put it up here and to know what I'm saying. Now I want you guys to bear with me. I want you guys to sit back and close your eyes just for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Can you imagine? Imagine at the age of 11 years old, coming home from school, finding out that your mother and all your sisters and brothers have left you intentionally. That was me. About 5 minutes later, my mother's boyfriend came up the street. And I said to him, where is my mother? And he said, Emily, I was told not to tell you where they moved to. And I looked at him eye to eye and I said, why? He hunched his shoulders and went on by his bed. I sat down on them steps and I cried and I cried and I was so afraid and I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I said, God, please send my mother back to come and get me. I said, what have I done to deserve this? I said, whatever I've done, I will never do it again. Mama, please come back and get me. That's that's why I'm telling you guys this today. If you got somebody that loves you, if you got somebody that cares about you, if you got somebody that's supporting you, telling you, go ahead, you can do this. If you got somebody saying you can get your education, it's never too late to get your education. If you got somebody that cares, respect that. Because I want all kids to know Mrs. Wallace did not have that at the age of 11 years old. Mrs. Wallace was afraid to speak out. And I want you guys to know to never be afraid to speak out with abuse. If you feel that somebody is abusing you, neglecting you, go to authorities. Speak out. Also, be cautious. And the reason why I say you guys got to be cautious, you have to think before you do. Because if you don't think before you do, it's a lot of dangerous people out here. And it's a lot of dangerous people that want to hurt nothing but kids. They are psycho. Something is wrong with their brain. So you have to be cautious. You have to think. Now let me tell y'all a little something that happened to me while I was on those streets. I wasn't cautious on something that I did. And I paid for it because I wasn't cautious. I was walking down Woodward in Detroit, going towards downtown, not knowing where I'm going. I'm just walking because I don't have nowhere to go. And I run across my sister's friend. She was like about 13 years old, finna turn 14. And I was 11 years old. And she got to asking me, where's my sister at? And then I got to telling her about my mother and all my sisters and brothers leaving me, abandoning me, abusing me. I mean, I got to telling her everything. I got to spilling the beans to her, just telling her all about my life story, what happened to me. And I was hoping and praying to myself, saying, maybe she'll take me home with her where her mother can help me. Maybe her mother can feed me. Maybe she can give me a place to stay. And I'm saying all this to myself, and maybe, just maybe she can let me wear some of her clothes, because I had on the same clothes for 2.5 to 3 weeks. And I was smelling like, I was smelling so bad, you could have smelled me 10 blocks down. So I was really hoping that she would take me home with her where I can get a bath, where I can get a meal. But she didn't do that. No, she didn't do that. About 5 minutes later, a car came up. We at the bus stop. I'm still talking to her, telling her everything. And she stopped talking to me and went over by that car, and I could not see whether that car was black or blue. All I know it was a dark color because I didn't have my glasses. And see, I can hear her talking to that man, because it was a man's voice that I heard, and I could hear her saying this and saying that, but I couldn't hear it clearly. And about 2 seconds later, she came up and said, "Come on, Emily, let's go." And I said, "Where we going?" And she said, "Well, we're going for a ride. Come on." I've been knowing him for like about maybe 3 months to 3 weeks. And I didn't catch that she said 3 months to 3 weeks until later. I was not cautious. Because if I would have been cautious and not got in that car, I wouldn't get what I got. And when I got in that car, boy, I thought I was going to get me something to eat, and I was going to have me a bath. At the end of the day, whatever she was talking about with this man, I just knew that later on down the road, I'm going to end up at her house with her. About 7 to 10 blocks down, they stop at a stop. And the next thing I know, she stayed in the car with me. She did do that. She stayed in the car with me, talking to me, telling me how long she been knowing him. Girl, ain't he cute? And I'm saying to myself, I am 11 years old. This man looking like he was least in his late 30s. What is she talking about? About 2 seconds later, the guy come out the store, and he had a bag in his hand. And you can hear, when he set the bag down, you can hear like his glass inside the bag. And the next thing I know, Nikki got a cup. And she poured something in the cup. And she said, Emily, you want some? And I said, some of what? And she said, here, girl, just drink. And I said to myself, no, I'm good. I don't want none. And she said, well, would you slide over on the driver's side because that door is broke? Now, and you don't want to fall out. Now, this is supposed to be my friend that told me this. To slide over on the other side. But the reason why she was telling me to slide over for somebody else to get in. But I was too young to acknowledge that somebody else was getting into that car. About 2 seconds later, another man jumped in the car. Was I the only one that was surprised that another man jumping in the car? I was scared and terrified in the back seat because the other two that was up front, Nikki and the other guy, was not afraid. It seemed like to me they knew that he was getting into that car. So I asked Nikki, I said, Nikki, where is we going? What is going on? She said, oh girl, we just going for a ride. I said, a ride? She said, yeah. And she turned up the music real loud, and I couldn't hear nothing else she was saying. She had her cup in her hand, and it's like she was a whole nother person in that car. She was not the same person that was at that bus stop talking to me. She was not the same person that come to school when I used to see her. She was a totally different person. It's like she was a grown woman the way she was acting. So I rolled back in the back seat and I sat there and the other guy just looking at me, and I'm looking back and saying, where's we going? So they pull over the park, and the park was real dark. I mean, it was real dark. I couldn't see that good at it. So about 2 seconds later, Nikki and the other man get out the car and Nikki said, I'll be back. And I said, wait a minute, you'll be back. Hold up, Nikki, I'm coming with you. No. You stay in the car, Emily, I'll be back. I said, no. I get out the car and I said, I'm coming with you. And she stood up there with her hands on her hips and said, we want to talk. And I said to myself, oh, who is she? Why is she acting like this? So she went on walking back through the park with that man. So I stood up in front of the car, just standing there like I'm in shock, saying, what is going on? What possibly could she talk about? So then, about 2 minutes later, I decided to get back in the car because the other guy, he gets out the car, he's smoking a cigarette, so I get back in the car. And I sit in the car because it's real dark, and he gets back in the car with me. And he asked me, he said, what's your name? And I said, you've been hearing her say Emily all day. And he said, don't you get smart. And I stood there and I looked at him like, I'm not getting smart. I'm mad because she done left me sitting here, supposed to be my sister friend and my friend, with a man that I don't even know. Somebody that I does not even know from a can of paint. And then he got to grabbing me, telling me to come over, trying to shove me on the other side of the seat with him pulling me, trying to kiss all on me. Then he got to try to rip off my clothes. And I started crying. And I'm trying to fight him back and forth. I'm trying to fight him back. And he took out a blade. It was a little knife when I could see the shininess into it. And he said, I will kill you if you don't shut up. And I said to myself, kill me. Why did I get into this car? So you can imagine how quick my mouth closed when he said shut up and sold me that knife. And he got to doing whatever he wanted to do with me because I was so afraid and so terrified that I didn't know what to do. And I did not want to die. And that's why I tell y'all today, you have to be cautious. You have to think before you do. All friends that you think is friends may not be friends. Or they may make the wrong choice. So you have to make that choice. You have to think for yourself. And you have to be cautious. Because if I would have been cautious when she said 3 months to 3 weeks, I wouldn't have got in that car. What I'm trying to say to y'all today is child abuse. Child abuse is not a joke. Child abuse is something that needs to be taken seriously. It took me 20 years to be able to speak out about my abuse, my neglect, my abandonment. I want you guys to remember. I want you to remember that Mrs. Wallace said, silence is not the key when it comes to child abuse. I want you guys to always remember to speak out. And I just want to say thank you for having me here. And I hope I'm able to come back here again to speak to you guys. And I hope my speech helped somebody in this audience. Thank you.